Well, I think you're just changing all the time. I think also you could stay as a director, and in the 25 years you change, society changes, what ballet is expected or doing is changing. So that evolution, you have to just kind of like a dancer, I guess, that you have to approach the class each day. Some things will work, some things won't. You have to apply your technique. Your back is no longer as flexible. You have to alter how that technique works. I think dancers do that really well. And I think directors and choreographers are a part of that same problem-solving thing.
I'm Caitlin, a former professional ballerina turned dance educator and career mentor, and this is the Brainy Ballerina Podcast. I am here for the aspiring professional ballerina who wants to learn what it really takes to build a smart and sustainable career in the dance industry. I'm peeling back the curtain of the professional dance world with open and honest conversations about the realities of becoming a professional dancer. Come along to gain the knowledge and inspiration you need to succeed in a dance career on your terms. Hello and welcome to the Brainy Ballerina Podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Sloan, and I am joined today by Stanton Welch. Stanton is the Artistic Director of Houston Ballet and a prolific choreographer whose work can be seen in the repertoire of companies all over the world. Stanton, you have had such an incredible career, but I want to go back to the very beginning of your dance journey today and hear, why did you take your very first dance class?
Oh, right. Well, I didn't start ballet until I was about 16 and a half. My parents were both ballet dancers, so we were around ballet a lot as young kids. And I guess we saw how hard it was, from being backstage. So it never really interested me. And then when I got to be about 15 and a half, I was really invested in acting and doing musical theater and stuff like that. And I thought, what would be good for me is to have more ballet, some dance training. And I started doing ballet, and then I fell in love with ballet. My parents were ballet teachers too. So after a year of studying with them, I went to San Francisco Ballet School from there.
Wow. So before that, did your parents ever kind of push you to start ballet, or were they just like, whatever you want to do is fine?
Absolutely. Whatever. Not against ballet, but certainly like if you do ballet, realize that it's hard, right? Like that
Yeah.
It's not a cushion thing. But they were very supportive. When we were little kids, we did a lot of character work in ballets. Like we were the little children in ballets because we traveled with mum and dad, so we were available. And I remember mum saying to Damien and I once, look, you have to do one ballet class in order to be in this show. So we did the ballet class, and apparently I just sat on the floor with my arms folded and didn't do it. And my brother cried and did the whole class just crying. So then we never went back to ballet. That was when I was about probably 7 or 6. It's funny. Yeah, I'm not sure why.
So when you went back older, did you just have a really natural aptitude for it right away?
I'm lucky with physicality, I think, with my parents and everything. And I'd done a lot of swimming and gymnastics. Like I was a pretty athletic kid, water polo, ice skating a little bit. So yeah, I feel like physically I was already kind of flexible. That wasn't a big step for me. I've always felt behind in the terminology and the syllabus and all of that kind of stuff because, at 16 and a half, it was hard to start and embarrassing. And, you're wearing a jock strap for the first time at that age and tights. It took me months to put on tights. All those things that you don't think about. And then also because they ran the school, I could be with them in their full-time program all day, but then I'd stay on and do all the junior classes in the evening. And I think that's really what did it for me. Had I have just tried to do my age group, it wouldn't have worked. What was great was I had access to 7 days a week dancing from 9 a.m. till 10 o'clock, and I'd just go with mum and dad in the morning and come back with them at night.
After a year of dancing, how did you feel ready to take the leap to move across the world and train at San Francisco?
I had been New York focused as both before wanting to be a dancer as well. Like if I wanted to be an actor or anything, I wanted to do it through there. So that was always the plan. And I had really thought of ABT. And this is at the time where Barishnikov and all the videos, and it was just my heart was set on it. And mum said, look, if you can raise half the money. So I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken for a year and I raised half the money for the flight and we came over and I auditioned for ABT Studio Company, but it hadn't started yet. It was starting in July and Australian years are different school years. So they said you have 6 months to train somewhere else. And they suggested, it was Jürgen Schneider, who was the teacher there, suggested a teacher in San Francisco, Jonathan Watts, and Helgi Tomasson, that would be a great place for me to use the first 6 months to train before returning to them. So I did that, and I just fell in love with San Francisco Ballet and the city. And when it came time to go back to New York, I didn't go. I stayed at San Francisco.
How did that time in your training prepare you for your professional career?
Oh, well, I mean, San Francisco Ballet, I'd grown up watching the Australian Ballet. I know it like inside out from the repertoire and the dances. But coming to America and watching San Francisco Ballet, it was the most diverse company I had seen at that point. There were dancers from all around the world, and I had not seen that. It was the first time I saw Billy Forsyth's material, Mark Morris material. First time I'd seen Balanchine dance live. It was just like that's what it felt like to me. That whole year of watching that company was just, and then also it was back in the day when touring was more. So we had Joffrey Ballet come through, ABT come through. They were all in their prime creative times. I really felt like a highly energizing year for my love of ballet and what that could involve, but also of American dancing.
So from there, what was your transition like into professional career? What was your first job?
I signed with the Australian Ballet, so I went back to them after a year with San Francisco. Then I danced with them for 11 years, yeah.
Do you have a favorite role that you performed?
Not one. There's sort of a collection. We're currently preparing ourselves to perform Manon here, and I did get to do Des Grieux, and that was a very special role. And of course, Lenski and Onegin was a very special role for me. But sometimes it's like group ballets. It's a ballet by Nacho Duarte called Jadi Tankard, and I just loved that. Our cast, there's only 6 people in it. It was very tight. It felt very special. It's little weird things like that. And also a partner that you might love at one point, that there was a special moment. 4 Last Songs we did by Beja, which also was a very special cast, and a few. It changes.
Yeah. Let's pause this episode and take a moment to talk about something that can feel incredibly complicated for aspiring dancers and artists: navigating the U.S. visa process. Whether you need an O1, P1, or P3 visa, having the right guidance is crucial. That's where Brainy comes in. They specialize in immigration law and helping performers like you navigate the visa process with ease. Brainy understands the unique challenges and aspirations of ballet dancers seeking to pursue their dreams in a new country. Their dedicated team of immigration experts is passionate about providing tailored legal solutions to help talented dancers seamlessly transition to their chosen destination. With their expertise, you can rest easy knowing that you're getting the proper guidance you need to make your dreams a reality. I only recommend brands I know and love here on the podcast, and Brainy is no exception. I have personally worked with Brainy to secure a registered trademark for the Brainy Ballerina. I had no idea what I was doing or even where to start, but they made the entire process smooth and completely stress-free. Don't let visa confusion hold you back from your dance dreams. Head to the show notes or visit brandley.com. That's BRANDLLET.com to learn more about how they can help you secure the opportunities you deserve. What drew you to choreography? Did you start choreographing while you were still dancing professionally?
I did, yeah. So when I was studying to be an actor, I was also writing screenplays and scripts. It just felt like it was a part of that acting process. And so when I started doing ballet, I started straight away transferring that energy into writing ballets. And I used to have like a book, a folder of ballet ideas, and keep fleshing them out. And then Mum and Dad both choreographed as well. And Dad had a very successful choreographic career. So part of their curriculum in their school was everyone had to choreograph a ballet. So I did in that year, my first year, and it won some awards. Yeah, so then I was hooked. Then the only year since then that I didn't choreograph was that 1 year in San Francisco. And then after that, I have choreographed every year of my life.
Having come from that musical theater background, do you find that you're a story-driven choreographer, or is it something else? Is it music? Is it movement? What inspires you?
I love both. Like, I think that there are 3 different ways. I love finding a story and then spending hours trying to nuance it out and the different characters and the reasons and how that fits with the music. And I love taking a classic that exists and within the structure of that classicism, remodeling and redetailing it to be in a different kind of order. But then I do just love getting a great piece of music and making dance. I need to switch between them, if that makes sense, to keep my energy going. But I just came off a piece, Stereo is King, to music by Mason Bates, which was just such great music, and it was just fun to choreograph. It was just about those dances and that music. And then prior to that was Raimondo, which was, big epic classic and a lot of classical ballet.
How do you feel like you've evolved as a choreographer since you first started?
That's interesting. I don't know. I'm in the process right now. I'm working on a new full length. I always feel like I go through those same ebbs and flows, like, oh my God, what have I done? I don't have enough time to, oh, this is fun. I really like, it goes in a weekly basis. And the one thing as I've gotten older, or actually come to realize as I've gotten older, is that I can't control when that happens in myself. Like there'll be a weekend or an evening where you'll just feel everything is making sense. It's like playing a tennis game and you haven't missed the ball yet and it's going and it's going. And then sometimes you can serve and never hit back. And I've never worked out how to fully control that, like how to just switch it on. It comes in waves and retracts in waves like the ocean.
Okay, so just kind of leaning into that.
Yeah, I was up late last night because I felt like I was on track on something. So you just gotta go with it.
Did you always see yourself becoming an artistic director?
Oh, no. I saw myself winning an Oscar. No.
There's still time.
I think it was more creative choreography and how to make a place as a choreographer that I felt gave choreographers, including myself, access to all the things that made you feel the most creative, like a really focused group of dancers, a beautiful stage, very high production level, a lot of time for lighting and finessing and reworking. And Houston Ballet has that, and that felt very important to maintain. So that was my drive about directorship. But really, for me, if I'd sat back and said, oh, what would I love to be doing, and just be creating, and whatever that form took, from a musical to a ballet to, I love making stuff.
So how did you come into this role? Were you recruited? Was it an application process? How did that happen for you?
Application process. When I first came to America to live, which was about 2000, I'd already had a bit of an established choreographic career. So I was on some of those, I think, short lists or headhunting lists for that. And I felt like it was great practice to talk about what makes you passionate. And then when the Houston one came about, I'd worked here as a choreographer, so I knew how special the setup was for choreography. And, we have 2 techs, 2 dresses spread over 4 days. That's unheard of in ballet. And I really felt like I wanted to protect that. That was what drove it. Yeah.
How do you think your perspective has changed since being a dancer all the way to be a director? How do you approach things, or how do you see things differently now?
Well, I think you're just changing all the time. I think also you could stay as a director, and in the 25 years you change, society changes, what ballet is expected or doing is changing. So that evolution, you have to, just kind of like a dancer, I guess, that you have to approach the class each day. Some things will work, some things won't. You have to apply your technique. Your back is no longer as flexible. You have to alter how that technique works. I think dancers do that really well. And I think directors and choreographers are a part of that same problem-solving thing. Hopefully I've altered and changed a lot. But I was lucky in the fact that with my parents being dancers, I got to always see the backstage of ballet. They were directors, they were coaches, they were teachers. It was hard. It takes a village to put on a ballet. It's not just the performers on stage. There are all the different generations of people pushing that forward. And that really, I think, gave me a very unique sense of what ballet can be, like a circus family. We're a whole tent of people that put on the ballet. I appreciate that from them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of an environment do you hope to create in the studio for your dancers?
Oh, it depends on the ballet. I mean, I think that there's something like Stereo is King, where the work was very much about the steps that they as a unique person can do. So I don't come in with a lot of preparation. So there might be, you need a lot more of a ping pong effect between, and now you do this, and they have to tumble into that direction. And what if you do this? So that kind of thing. And then there'll be times where we approach something that is text driven or very serious, like Romeo, where there's not as much wriggle room in how you're interpreting the character, but that in itself creates a lot of interesting choices, if that makes sense. It's not restrictive if you look at it in the right way. To sing the song within the same note range shouldn't feel restrictive. It should feel liberating and creative to find space within that structure.
What about in a broader sense, like as workplace culture? What kind of culture do you want to build at Houston Ballet?
Oh, well, I think that, you want to have a creative place and also a place that takes ballet as something that is very serious and sacred. That we are a very lucky workplace to be able to do the thing that you love and have the most passion for in your life. I don't think every job has that. And I think a great deal of respect towards all the different departments and including the audience. How are we connecting out in a community sense as well? I think it's good to have dancers that try to understand that whole spectrum. In the HB2 program, when they go on tour, they're involved in the wardrobe department. And I think that that's really good. Sometimes as a dancer, you can live in a bit of a bubble if you don't see everything else around you. And I think as an organization, I hope that they have a lot of city pride and company pride about a place that is creating its future, creating the history that it will once be known for, if that makes sense.
And you're really known for presenting a wide range of repertoire. How do you program a season when you're looking at the entire season that's going to draw on your audiences, but also be really artistically rewarding for you as a choreographer and for your dancers?
It's kind of like a 5-year plan, to be honest. It can't just be what's coming. We're often budgeting a 2-year period from where we're up to. But if you write it out kind of like a 5-year plan and recycling in a way, because there are sort of your 4 or 5 big money makers that kind of, if you think of film studios, they'd be your Marvel film that comes in and makes $1 billion, and they need to exist in every season to some degree. A Swan Lake, for example, Sleeping Beauty, Nutcracker, Romeo and Juliet. And then you have work sometimes that you have to bring that are problematic or might not sell, might not have that same kind of name draw, but are extremely important artistically, are great for our audiences to see. Those works need to be in the program. You need to make sure that there's new work and that there's opportunity in mixed rep programming for new work and full length. It's sort of a game like that. You take all the full lengths and you juggle them around. We kind of have 3 full lengths a year and 3 mixed rep programs each season, plus then touring. So there's a template. And if you really looked at the 25 years, you would see a slight recurring of those big classics coming. And then you can see those other things sort of decided off of that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. When you're looking for dancers to join Houston Ballet, what are you looking for? What draws you to a dancer?
Kind of like what your other question was. It's all those things, like a seriousness to work, an ability to be brave and to have that little bit of afterflow when you're working with a choreographer. So you're not just waiting for the next step, but you're helping involve that. I love to have people talk a bit in an audition so that you can hear that they can communicate. And I love improvisation a little bit in an audition so you can see creativeness like that. I mean, I'm assuming that everyone who gets to the final stage for us is a high caliber technician. They're musical. So those things are a given. So the little extra things are those. But you really want someone who comes into a rehearsal room. And I love when I hear this from guests, that the focus of the energy of the dancers is so much on the person. And that's not everyone, and that's what we look for. Who can maintain that? I want to be better. I want more.
Did you know the dance slipper has remained essentially unchanged for over 100 years? The rigors of dance have increased exponentially, and traditional dance slippers fail to meet the unique athletic needs of today's dancers. Designed and engineered by former Pacific Northwest Ballet principal dancer Seth Orza, who experienced firsthand the need for better, smarter equipment, Orza delivers the first ever patented shock-absorbing ballet shoes. The Orza Pro preserves the timeless aesthetic of traditional ballet slippers while incorporating sneaker technology to maximize performance, optimizing endurance, reducing fatigue, and increasing confidence. Trusted by leading dancers, schools, and teachers worldwide, including myself, Orza helps you feel your best so you can dance your best. Head to the link in the show notes and use code Brainy Ballerina for 10% off your order of Orza ballet slippers today. Let's talk about Youth America Grand Prix. So you are bringing the finals to Houston for the first time in its 27-year history.
Right.
Why was it so important for you to bring the finals of YGP to Houston?
Well, I mean, I love that you're saying bring, and I love to take credit for it, but I don't know if that's really how. Youth America Grand Prix, we've been involved with for about 24 years now. And just as an example of the current 61 dancers in the Houston Ballet, 30 of them went through some capacity of Youth America Grand Prix. So if we went back 20 years and counted the people, it'd be in the hundreds. It has impacted so many dancers across the world. I love the fact that all these ballet teachers and students will come to Houston, and everyone doesn't believe what we have here. You have an image of Texas or an image of where we live, but we're actually in this incredible ballet building with a beautiful theater surrounded by parks and restaurants, and I'm looking forward to being able to show the ballet community what we actually have here in Houston, and for them to see the company and to see where we perform. And I know what a change it was for me the first time I arrived here, and the revelation that it wasn't what I was expecting. So that's a big, important reason why I want this here in Houston. And I also think out of all the places it's been in the finals, that we're really going to be a great place for them, that the kids have so many great spaces to do class and perform, the climate, the ease of the airports. There are many things about Houston that I think lends itself to be a very successful Youth America Grand Prix.
And this is similar to my previous question, but I think it can be slightly different in the context of doing a variation or something like that for YGP. So what would you say makes a dancer stand out in this capacity to you?
Right, wow. Competitions are hard. What stands out to me, the people that I leave the competition remembering are not always the winners, right? They might be people that you've seen in classes or in a group dance or a non-competing person. So there's always an enormous amount of talent, but the people who win and place are the people who had a really good day that day necessarily, or might have a really phenomenal technique on a certain couple of steps, but that doesn't mean separate them from that solo that they are a company person. They just might be the best person to do that variation ever, but not necessarily in an organization. So I think my advice to dancers at it would be, you are visible to directors wherever you are. You don't have to win. You don't have to place. If you're in a class, we're watching the classes. You are on full display. So you can be noticed by just your presence and your work ethic and your technique. And that's, I've found, have been our most successful transfers.
How would you say that dancers can use YGP or another competition to really advance their professional career? Are you seeing a lot of dancers getting contract offers from the finals? Yeah.
Maybe not for company, but for their second companies for sure. I think it's more of a recruitment for schools than company, but most companies in North America now and Europe, I would say, actually have a school affiliated to their companies. So I think it's great exposure. I think it's also great exposure for teachers to see other techniques, other training, what levels your kids are at versus other kids. It's a useful convention. You just shouldn't use it as everything has to be about winning. It's more than that. It's more than that. Every shoe company is there. Every tutu company is there. And you see, the same variation danced by 50 kids, all with each teacher's imprint, their fingerprint on that child. It's very telling. I love-hate competitions. I just don't think anyone should be hung up on the prize. But if you go to it just to see like the Olympics, the spectacle of the world dance scene, then it's brilliant and everybody's here.
Did you ever do any competitions?
I did.
You did?
After 1 year, I didn't win. I went and did the Sydney City of Stedford. I got to the finals. I was the only boy in the finals. And then I got a special encouragement award. And what it did for me was break me of that nerves of having to walk out, present something, go off. Also, you get to practice being good and bad, right? Like it's good to do a solo 50 times because 4 of them might be really bad and 4 of them might be really good. And you have to learn as a dancer how to surf that, navigate that difference.
What advice do you have for a dancer who maybe has a bad day, the day of competition, things aren't going well for them? What would you like to see from them?
Yeah, that it doesn't, you shake it off. There was an analogy I used to hear a lot when I was a young dancer about, when whatever happens, the show doesn't go well, or you were disappointed, or it went really well, whatever it may be, that the next morning when you wake up and you come to class, it's like doing the dishes. And you just start fresh and you clean all the plates and you get everything up and dry and stacked and ready. And then you start again. And it's like you have to re-prepare your meal every day. I like that. You don't want to carry any residue either way into the next day, arrogance or negativity. You've got to start each day with that fresh, refine your technique, work on yourself, don't worry about other people, restructure yourself, and then dance. That worked well for me, to use class as like a meditation. I don't do it anymore.
Well, and I like what you said about you may be the best one at that variation, but there's so much more. And I think you can be very well rehearsed.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't always mean that you have all the skills as a dancer. So I feel like there's a lot of comparison in that room of like, wow, look at that amazing solo. But to remember that there's other things that come into play. And you've mentioned so many different skills you need as a dancer to succeed. So if you're feeling like less than someone during that performance aspect, perhaps the class is your time to shine, or there's other areas that you're going to show your strengths.
Absolutely. The kids all screaming over someone doing 8 pirouettes, that's not what the directors are looking for, right? And you just got to remember that they're two very different things. There's the circus of the technique that is getting that screaming at a competition, but that's not a job. And that's also not then going to fulfill you as an artist where, ultimately you want to have a 20-year career. You want to have many works created on you. You want some of those works to go off and be performed around the world. You're trying to imprint and give into the community where that's not what the competitions are. They are for something different.
Have you seen an impact on dance in terms of social media and that kind of landscape since you've been a director or a dancer?
Yes. Yes. My advice on it would be, I don't know how much young dancers are realizing that their social media is examined and talked about. I definitely have choreographers arriving who have studied them online and have strong feelings about that already. I'm an old person. I don't understand that. I think the audition happens when you're in the room, but that's changed. And I think we have to accept the fact that it's an extension of themselves. It's like a pre-audition in a way. And I think for young people looking for work, that they just have to be aware of that is out there and that can impact you. And then I also think sort of what you were mentioning earlier, the love hearts on your social media don't equate to ticket sales or don't equate to someone coming to see your show. So I've definitely found there's been discussions around that. Like if someone is really loved on social media, does that equate to what it happens in the show? And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. I think that that's an interesting thing we're all still navigating our way through. My warning would be, make sure that you realize that what you post, everyone you know or could possibly work for one day will have seen it.
Yes, absolutely. Houston Ballet is one of the top companies in the U.S., and as we all know, the arts are struggling. Funding is difficult to come by these days. As the director of one of the leading companies here in America, what advice do you have for arts organizations to navigate this current climate?
Well, luckily in Texas, we have very little government funding, so we just have never learned to rely on that, and that makes you kind of, like a single parent. You've learnt to adapt in a different way to what you have. My advice in there is that ballet and dance is still very relevant. And I think the whole Timothy Chalamet thing kind of showed a passion level amongst our supporters that I thought was really invigorating. It was kind of nice to see on an international level this waving of a flag. We've always understood in ballet and dance that we're not the number one most popular thing, but that we're also an absolutely fundamental part of it all. That's my advice. Ballet's not going away. We're here. We have to keep adapting. We have good years, bad years, and certainly COVID was really rough. And we're still working out how to bring people back into theaters, all of us, movies, opera, ballet. But I feel like ballet in Houston is doing well and could do better, but just keep on soldiering on.
Mm-hmm. So what's your 5-year plan? What are you excited about coming up?
Well, next year I'm working on a adaptation of an Alice in Wonderland. It's called Where's Alice? It's a modern take of Alice. So that's currently what I'm involved in. The music's by the band members from Nine Inch Nails. For me, that's really kind of fun because I've never done anything like this. So I love the excitement of a frontier that I've not explored, a full evening ballet to a classical story told in a modern way to music that is very modern. That's fun. I think that's exciting and I like the challenge.
Amazing. Last question I have for you. If you had to give aspiring professional dancers who are pursuing their careers one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
Ballet is ballet is not always good at loving you back. And I think you have a great love affair with it and you have to understand it will leave you and how do you move through that? And I think that to me is something that I always had in my head. And I guess because I'm a multi-generational ballet family, so I'd seen retirement. I'd lived through that with my parents when I was 13, 14. And it's early in that transition. And I wonder for people who don't have that experience that I had, do they know how short these are and that that's not anyone's fault? And it's part of the excitement of our career and the excitement of the art form, that it's this little flash and it's only in that moment and it never gets repeated. But that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of the live show. So it's weird advice.
I think that's very true. And I think that is a unique perspective to have seen your parents go through retirement as a teenager. I didn't realize they were still dancing professionally when you were a little bit older. So you saw that as like very cognizant of that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I remember clearly like at about 11 visiting mum in hospital and she'd had a surgery and her foot was so sensitive the sheet had to have like a protector to not touch her foot, and thinking, why is she going to this job where she's now on crutches? That's in the day when the Australian Ballet didn't pay you when you were injured. You were paid by the working period. Also, they had no childcare or anything in those periods. So I really feel for mum at that time and how hard it was to be a dancer and a mother. And also that all their friends went through retirement. So all the generations of the Australian Ballet that I know were ballet staff members and then teachers and coaches and retired. So I got to witness that ahead of myself all the time. It felt like ballet was forever. It was just the dancing part that was small. So I never viewed it as it's just this and then I'm something else. It was like, this is it. And this part's only a portion of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And that's really good perspective as you go throughout your career to realize there's always something more. If you want to stay in this ballet world, you'll find a way to make that happen.
From being a doctor that cures injuries to being a podcaster to being a reviewer, choreographer, designer, you can bring it back to ballet. I love seeing people joining our board that had gone through our school and have gone off and had a huge career in something else and now coming back to ballet. That's the thing, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. This was such a fun conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
If anyone listening wants to learn more about you or about Houston Ballet, where can we find you?
At Houston Ballet, I think on our website. And of course, anytime that we're touring, we have tours coming up next year. So please come and see us. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Brainy Ballerina Podcast. If you found this episode insightful, entertaining, or maybe a bit of both, I would so appreciate you taking a moment to leave a rating and hit subscribe. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. And you'll join our community of dancers passionate about building a smart and sustainable career in the dance industry. Plus, your ratings help others discover the show too. I'll be back with a new episode next week. In the meantime, be sure to follow along on Instagram at The Brainy Ballerina for your daily dose of dance career guidance.